I never imagined I'd find myself in this situation. My wife Amy and I had been happily married for 5 years when everything changed. Looking back, I can see how it all unfolded, but at the time, I was blindsided. Amy had always struggled with her weight and self-esteem. When she finally managed to lose 50 pounds through diet and exercise, I was thrilled for her. She looked amazing and seemed to have a new confidence. I thought it would bring us closer together. Instead, it drove a wedge between us that I never saw coming. As Amy's confidence grew, so did her desire for attention and validation from others. She started posting more on social media, reveling in the likes and comments. I didn't think much of it at first. She deserved to feel good about herself after working so hard. But then things started to escalate in ways I couldn't have predicted. It started innocently enough with Amy joining some online fitness groups. She'd share progress photos and workout tips. But soon, she was spending more and more time chatting with strangers online. She became secretive about her phone, always keeping it face down and taking it with her everywhere. I started to feel a distance growing between us, but I chalked it up to her newfound independence. Then came the day that changed everything. Amy's best friend Mimi showed up at our door, looking upset and conflicted. She sat me down and told me she couldn't keep quiet any longer. Amy had crossed a line. Mimi explained that Amy had been doing private cam shows online, accepting money from strangers to perform sexual acts. She'd gotten addicted to the attention and the thrill of it all. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. How could Amy do this? How could she betray our marriage like this? I confronted her that night when she got home. At first, she tried to deny it, but when I told her Mimi had come clean, the truth came pouring out. Amy broke down crying, saying she never meant for it to go so far. She'd just gotten caught up in feeling desirable for the first time. I was devastated. I packed a bag and left that night, staying with my brother for the next 4 months. During that time, Amy begged me to come home and work things out. She swore she'd ended all online activity and wanted to focus on our marriage. Part of me wanted to forgive her and move past it, but another part of me couldn't stop picturing her with those other men, even if it was just online. The trust was shattered. After months of soul-searching, I decided I wanted to try to save our marriage. We started couples therapy and began the long, painful process of rebuilding. Amy seemed genuinely remorseful and committed to regaining my trust. Slowly but surely, we started to reconnect and remember why we fell in love in the first place. Then, about 6 months into our reconciliation, Amy told me she was pregnant. It wasn't planned, but we were both cautiously excited about this new chapter. I thought maybe this baby was a sign that we were on the right track, that we could move past the infidelity and build a stronger relationship. For a while, things were good. We were focused on preparing for the baby and continuing to work on our marriage. But then came the conversation that brought all my doubts and fears rushing back to the surface. We were talking about the future, making plans for after the baby arrived. Amy casually mentioned something about me trusting her to go on a girls' weekend after the birth. When I hesitated, she got upset, asking if I still didn't trust her after all this time. I tried to explain that trust takes time to rebuild, that while things were much better between us, the scars from her betrayal were still there. I told her our relationship would never be exactly the same as it was before. How could it be, after what happened? But I emphasized that didn't mean we couldn't have a good marriage and build a happy life together. It just meant we had to be realistic about the work it would take. Amy didn't take it well. She burst into tears, asking if I was even happy about the baby or if I thought having a child with her was stupid. She accused me of stringing her along, saying if I couldn't fully trust her again, then what was the point of trying to reconcile? Before I could really respond, she'd packed an overnight bag and left for her parents' house. That was 4 days ago. Amy's been staying with her parents ever since, only communicating through brief texts about doctor's appointments and such. When I've seen her to drop off things she needs, she bursts into tears. I feel horrible seeing her so upset, especially while pregnant. But I also feel frustrated that she seems unwilling to accept the reality of our situation. I'm trying so hard to strike a balance between being honest about my feelings and being supportive of Amy and our unborn child. I do love her, despite everything that's happened. I want our marriage to work. But I can't pretend the affair never happened or that my trust hasn't been damaged. I have fears and doubts that I'm working through, and I think that's normal given the circumstances. I worry that Amy thinks I only stayed because of the pregnancy, but that's not true at all. We'd already been working on reconciling for months before we found out about the baby. While the pregnancy certainly complicated things, it wasn't the reason I decided to give our marriage another chance. I'm genuinely excited to become a father, even if the timing isn't ideal given the challenges we're facing in our relationship. As I sit here in our quiet house, I find myself second-guessing everything. Should I have lied and told Amy I completely trust her again, just to keep the peace? But how can we build a strong foundation for our family if we're not honest with each other? I don't want to hurt her, but I also don't want to sweep my feelings under the rug. That doesn't seem healthy for anyone involved. I keep replaying our entire relationship in my mind, trying to pinpoint where things went wrong. Could I have been more attentive when Amy was struggling with her weight? Should I have complimented her more, made her feel more desirable? But then I remind myself that her choices were her own. I wasn't a perfect husband, but I didn't deserve to be betrayed like that. The hardest part is the uncertainty. Will Amy come home? Can we move past this and create a stable, loving home for our child? Or are we fooling ourselves, trying to force something that's irreparably broken? I want so badly for things to work out, but I'm terrified of getting hurt again. And now it's not just my heart on the line, we have an innocent child to consider. I find myself vacillating between hope and despair. One moment, I'm imagining us as a happy family, watching our child grow up surrounded by love. The next, I'm picturing bitter custody battles and a lifetime of co-parenting tension. It's exhausting, this emotional roller coaster. I know Amy is hurting too. I can see the pain and fear in her eyes when I do see her. She's carrying the weight of her mistakes along with our growing child. Part of me wants to just sweep her into my arms and tell her everything will be okay. But another part holds back, still wary of being too vulnerable. As the days pass, I'm realizing more and more that there are no easy answers here. Reconciliation after infidelity is a long, difficult road. Adding a pregnancy to the mix only complicates things further. We're navigating uncharted waters, and there's no roadmap to follow. I've been reaching out to friends and family for support, but it's hard to find people who truly understand the complexity of our situation. Most just tell me to leave her or to forgive and forget, neither of which feels right to me. I'm caught in this gray area, trying to forge a path forward that honors both my love for Amy and the very real pain and mistrust caused by her actions. As I sit here writing this, I realize what I need most is patience, with Amy, with myself, with this whole messy situation. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is a strong marriage, especially one that's been shaken to its core. We need time to heal, to rebuild, to learn to trust again. I'm going to reach out to Amy today and ask her to come home so we can talk. Not to rehash old arguments or make promises we can't keep, but to start making a plan for moving forward. We need to get back into therapy, both individually and as a couple. We need to set realistic expectations and milestones for rebuilding trust. And we need to start preparing for this baby, who deserves parents who are committed to working through their issues. I don't know what the future holds for us. I can't guarantee that we'll overcome this and live happily ever after. But I do know that I want to try. For the sake of the love we once shared, for the family we hope to build, and for the person I want to be, someone who doesn't give up when things get tough. This journey won't be easy. There will be more tears, more arguments, more moments of doubt. But there will also be moments of joy, of connection, of hope. As I prepare to become a father, I'm learning that love isn't always simple or straightforward. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and requires more work than we ever imagined. But maybe that's what makes it worthwhile in the end. The love that survives the storms, that bends but doesn't break, that's the kind of love I want to model for our child. So I'll take a deep breath, pick up the phone, and take the first step towards whatever comes next. Because despite everything, I still believe in us.